Hello, everybody. My name is Jeffrey Davis, and welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs as we continue to stream stories of leadership, entrepreneurship, and the economy. I'm looking forward to our next guest because I don't think I have ever had a client who didn't talk to me about wanting to position their business or sell their business eventually. But first of all, before we get into that, let me introduce you to my guest host for this interview, Evan Macedo, VP Finance and Operations at Sapers and Wallack. Welcome back, Evan.
Thank you, Jeffrey. It's always a pleasure to be here. You and I have been interviewing so many wonderful guests throughout the years, and we continue to keep it going and have another phenomenal one today.
Right. And I noticed you had a very active weekend on the water. That was nice. Since I stalk you. Our next guest is Greg DeSimone, President, Catapult Advisory Group, which I'll let you describe what you do, Greg, to our listeners.
Sure. We're a lower middle market M&A advisory firm, so we help sell businesses primarily. Lower middle market for us is 10 million to 75 million of revenue and at least $1 million of EBITDA. We have a specialty called Catapult Connect, where about half of our business is helping clients who have received that knock on the door where a competitor or a PE firm is looking to roll up an industry and they don't know what to do next. And they're up against an army of professionals and they need to level the playing field. And we come in to do that.
And Greg, I know that selling your business is very personal to the people that are selling it. You know, they want the most amount of money. They want to make sure their business is taken care of. There's so many different players out there. Financing has been harder to get with interest rates going up. Where do you feel like you're bringing the most value to some of these business owners that are looking to sell?
My biggest goal when I work with a client is to reduce seller's remorse. So when they make that decision, that they know that they've looked at every opportunity and are making the right decision. Or if they're going to pass on the decision, they looked at all the information and it made sense for them to pass on that opportunity. That's my primary goal, is to provide education throughout the process, help them make better and more informed decisions, and quite honestly, make sure that they're not taken advantage of by the other side, who, like I said, their goal is to reduce the purchase price to get the asset they want for the lowest amount of money as possible. They're not trying to cheat anyone, but their goal is to buy it for as little as possible. Our goal is to sell it for as much as possible. And if we can't do that, we'll wait for the next opportunity.
Because Greg, on average, the buyers are more sophisticated because they've done multiple transactions. The sellers, this might be the only transaction in their whole career, and they only get one shot at this, correct?
You might be able to join our marketing team, because that's exactly our message. You only have one chance to get this right. The other side knows the market. They know what's going on. They have all the professionals lined up. They know what other buyers in this market are looking for. You probably never thought about it until you got that knock on the door, and you're at a distinct disadvantage at that point. And exactly, you want to make sure you get this thing right. Like if you had to do knee surgery or carpal tunnel surgery, you could probably go online and find a video that'll show you how to do it. But if you're only going to do it once, do you really want to make that the only time you do it? I say find the right professional to make sure you do it right and you're well represented and you make the best decisions possible.
And since there is only one shot, you got to make sure you maximize it, not just in terms of the top line, but in terms of guarantees and in terms of tax consequences. But before we get into that, Greg, can you just give our listeners a sense of your background and how you ended up becoming an entrepreneur and starting Catapult?
Sure. I started as a CPA. I'm a recovering CPA. And after about 4 or 5 years of that, I realized it's either I do not want to become a partner in that organization. I probably don't want to become a partner in any CPA organization. It was not what I expected or what I wanted, based on what I'd seen previously leading up to that career choice. I went into corporate for about 15 years and working in controllership and VP of finance roles. During that time, I worked on 15 different transactions, 12 sell side, 3 buy side. And after a while, I got tired of that, mostly because the job is becoming more and more compliance related, and I was more interested in strategic thinking and strategic plans and long-term thinking versus 90-day outlooks, because we were with public companies. So I started my own business 15 years ago, helping people prepare for sales, succession, and exit planning, getting ready for generational change. And the more I worked on that, the more it became apparent that the best options were actually selling the business versus trying to transition an asset to the next generation, which sometimes is the right case, but more and more it was not. And I just kind of got pushed into doing more and more transactional work. I partnered with a different M&A firm for about 8 years, and then in December, we're renewing our fee structure and our profit sharing plan, and we just couldn't come to an agreement. So I said, it's time for me to do this on my own. And now I'm doing it on my own. And I've been doing it for 7 months on my own, which is great.
And Greg, with your few decades of experience working with all these different companies and doing all these different deals, is there a certain industry that you feel you're a little bit more honed in on and get a little bit better results, or are you more industry agnostic and it really depends on who the business owners are?
I am industry agnostic, but I do enjoy working with those anonymous companies that line the highways of the United States, particularly 128 and 495 here in Massachusetts, where you go by an industrial park, there's a ton of activity. You look at the names and the signs and you have no idea who they are. There are a lot of really successful companies that are working anonymously to the rest of us, and they're looking for an exit and looking for a fund their retirement and other initiatives. Those are the types of clients I like to work with. And another way I look at it is I want to be able to explain what they do in about 15 seconds to my mom. If she can understand the business model in 15 seconds, I can do a really good job serving those companies, make sure they get the most amount of money, because there are hidden stories there, and they may seem boring, but there's always a hidden story that can enhance the value when you go through the process.
Have you had a favorite transaction that you've worked on?
Yes, they're all my favorites, but the one I did recently.
These are not your children.
Yeah. No, it's funny. I only work with clients for maybe 6 to 18 months, typically 9 to 12 months. And I get very close with them. But the one I did recently, where I actually just got hired because they couldn't get through the process and they would get bogged down, and the private equity firm and this company asked if I would help the process. So I came in to help the process, and we were moving along great. We actually got some additional value, which I told the PE firm, if you bring me on, I am going to find more value for these guys, because I know how you negotiate. I know what you left on the table. And so we got to the end, and after we got about 2 million of extra value, we got to the end, and the other side, the PE firm had to pull the plug because they were getting acquired. Their platform was getting acquired, and they had to put a hold on all of the M&A activity. So what we did is we were in the process of negotiating a purchase option so that we would sit in the sidelines for 9 months while they went through this process. And if they didn't come to our terms, he said we were going to go to market. And while we were doing that, we put a book together, went to market, and got 3 offers in 3 weeks, and got one of them to actually step into the prior offer, and we closed in 45 days after that. And we got an additional 4 million in value because the company was actually improving their performance. So I went from a deal where everything was signed, sealed, and delivered, and we got an extra $6 million of value, and we had to go to market twice, even though it was already signed. So that was my favorite because the people were great to work with. No one was, it was frantic at times, but it wasn't contentious. No one was doing this intentionally to play a game. It's just things happened, and we made do with what the situation was, and we made sure that they got the best value possible.
Very nice. Evan, you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, I got one last question. As I'm like hearing all of these wonderful stories you're telling us, when you are working with all these different companies over here, and is there anything that you're looking at first or advising on first to have these companies get all their ducks in a row?
That's a great question. Having your financial records in order probably is the biggest importance. If you need to be able to have your financials that make sense, are relatively clean. That doesn't mean that you don't take advantage of some of the opportunities that you have with the tax code, but you need to be transparent about it, and so that you can easily defend them and actually calculate them so you can add them back. If you do such a good job hiding stuff and we can't recalculate it, we can't add it back. I do think that if you can understand what your operating activities are, your key performance activities are, and how they translate to financial results, and you can show a dashboard of how you're managing the business, that help goes a long way. I strongly recommend, as you get closer to thinking about an exit, to look at either reviewed or audited statements, and even in some cases, doing a quality of earnings review on the sell side to make sure that you have everything that you need prepared for the sale process and the upcoming due diligence all lined up. And if there's any questions from the other side, we can point to our report and say, hey, we've gone through this review. These numbers will stand up. Your guys will come in and they'll get the same answers that we have. And that really makes the process go quicker. And you're negotiating terms and conditions versus purchase price because everyone knows what the numbers are and everyone knows how to calculate. Once you agree on the numbers, everyone can calculate the valuation. It's not that difficult. It's making sure you have the right number to start with. And once you're there, it's great.
Thank you. We've been speaking with Greg DeSimone, President, Catapult Advisory Group, with Evan Macedo, VP Finance Operations and Sapers and Wallack. Greg, if somebody wants to speak with you and understand maybe where their business is in their life cycle, and is it the time to sell their business, how would they find you in Catapult?
You can go right to our website. It is catapultadvisorygroup.com. And there's a connect with us on that website, and you can reach out to us. It comes right to me in my admin.
Good. Evan, if someone's looking for you?
Sure. So easiest way is to go to sapers-wallack.com. You can click on our team page, find me, and find the rest of our advisors there. I'm always willing to help our greater Boston community navigate your employee benefits, business insurance, and retirement plan advisory needs.
Great. Thanks again, Greg, for being on the show today. Remind everybody this is Radio Entrepreneurs.